This project shows how a needs assessment can assist in making minor or critical decisions. The following demonstrates how Anne and George followed the needs assessment process in order to analyze the critical factors affecting the personal and business decisions. Anne has to make 3 critical decisions that will greatly impact her future personal life. She must decide whether to get married in June or December, whether to move to the suburbs or stay in the city, and whether to buy a dog or not. Anne is a 28-year-old young professional woman who is looking to settle down. The most influential aspects in her decisions include her family and career aspirations. Some of her current dilemmas of her decisions include the associated cost, weather, and transportation issues. Although getting married in June would be sooner than waiting until December, she must consider the hot weather along with her busy work schedule. Anne owns a beautiful home in the city, but is debating moving to the suburbs once she is married because of the savings she and her husband will incur. Although kids are a huge factor for the couple in the future, for now, Anne is debating purchasing a dog, but is unsure based on her current living situation and allergy to animals. George has to make 3 critical decisions that will greatly impact his future business endeavors. He must decide whether to implement a new phone system within his facility, whether to plan a leadership retreat for his employees, and whether to hire more full-time employees based on his recent business growth. George is a 30-year-old administrator of a long-term care facility. He is interested in exploring and updating his facility's technology and is considering expanding his personnel after the recent growth of his business during the past year. The decision to implement a new phone system is based upon factors such as the time and training required. Although a leadership retreat would be a wonderful team-building exercise for his employees, George must consider the cost and time off of work that a retreat would require. Business growth is exciting, but often includes hiring more personnel. If George were to hire more full-time employees, he must consider the time it takes to interview as well as train the new hirees. Needs were determined and assessed by a self-analysis with input from an expert. The expert helped both Anne and George distinguish between needs and wants. Each of the factors that affected their decisions were rated on a scale from 1 to 7, with 1 being of lowest importance and 7 being of highest importance. The averages and ranges were then calculated to determine which factors were essential, rapid, or periodic. The factors identified as relevant to the decision-making process for Anne were cost, weather, time off from work, transportation, proximity to work, living situation, and allergies. The factors identified as relevant to the decision-making process for George were cost, time, training, and the improvement on organizational culture. The decision on how to classify these considerations were made by paying attention to the average and range for each item. When the range was small, it suggested that there was a consensus on the importance of the information item across different issues. When the range was high, it suggested that some issues the consideration was important, and for others it was not as important. With the help of the analyst, Anne was able to determine the factor that was essential was cost. The factors that were rapid were time off from work, transportation, proximity to work, and living situation, and the factors that were periodic as allergies and weather. With the help of the analyst, George was able to determine the factors that were essential as cost and time, the factor that was rapid as training, and the factor that was periodic as improved culture. Items that were considered essential had a high average importance and a small range. This information should be collected, analyzed, and reported routinely. Items that were considered rapid had a larger range, indicating that their relevance across issues varied substantially. The best use of resources here may be to construct a data collection, modeling, and analysis system that can be quickly activated. items that were deemed periodic had low average importance and would only rarely be used in decision making. We suggest that no planning or preparation be directed towards these items. In our evaluation of this tool in the decision-making process, we found that joint assessment helps to provide different perspectives on the decisions. We found that it was difficult to consider each decision independently because each decision had an impact on the conditions in which other decisions were made. This method forced clients to differentiate between needs and wants while assessing future issues and planning ahead. This process minimized the potential of collecting unnecessary data by streamlining the decision-making process. It was effective in prioritizing a large collection of very specific factors. In conclusion, the needs assessment process is beneficial for both business as well as personal decisions.